Hello, viewers. So, today I'm going to talk about the movie Dhurandhar. It is one of the most boring movies I have ever seen in my life, and duration is the last thing that I was bothered with. I love long movies. I sat through Jean Dielman, which is a 4 hour long silent film, kinda, and loved every single second of it. I love 4 hour long dramas where the characters just talk and we explore them through their dialogues, and also the world is revealed to us through their interactions. Most of my favorite movies are 3 4 hour long dramas. I love Irishman even more than Goodfellas. I love Once Upon a Time in America, the 4 hour long restored version that Sergio Leone didn't have the fortune of releasing as the final cut while he was alive. So you cannot pin this criticism of boredom on my attention span. Now, why do I call it boring? I think the writing is largely to blame. I call it lazy writing when the writing is so sloppy the filmmaker abuses every tool at his disposal, be it music, production design, score, color palette, makeup, cinematography, editing, to cover up his poor screenplay. Every single element should revolve around the screenplay, not the other way around, in my opinion. I will start with the characters. The only place where the director flexed his writing muscles are in the introduction of the main characters, and he showed that on the trailer, luring me into watching the film and finally breaking the bad news that that's all he could manage to write. As the rest of the film was carried on the shoulders of smoking shots, violence just for the sake of it, one liners, smirks, stares, and I would dive into them in a minute. The film revolves around deals getting made, negotiations, power dynamics, politics, trust, betrayal. And what Aditya thought the best way to approach this world would be through violence and smoking. And now you will say, hey dumbass, get out of the asses of Eric Rock, Paul Schrader, Aaron Sorkin, Nicholas Pileggi, David Chase, Mario Puzo, Tarantino, Bong Joon-ho, etc., and understand that it's a fast paced spy action movie, not a slow burning crime drama like Donnie Brasco. And my response to that would be, first of all, to correct you, though I am an ass guy, but I'm straight, unlike my Peter, so I have no such wish of entering someone's ass. And now I would say regarding my criticism that I know it's an action movie because Aditya left no stone unturned, convincing from the get go that it is an action movie. But I did not find it thrilling or engaging or anything that is the bare minimum you expect from such a film. I did not find anything like that, which is why the lousy writing is irking me more than it should, since it did not distract me with anything else that I can sing praises of. There are films where the plot is the last thing that impressed me, but I still liked them because some other aspects in the story, maybe a few characters, some scenes, enticed me, which is so not the case for this film. I'm not the biggest fan of action films, so maybe this stern distaste for the film is coming from my general lack of interest in action films. But I will still stand by my criticisms since I genuinely felt that way about this film. Now I'd like to talk about the character writing. Let's take Akshay Khanna's character. Apart from him bludgeoning a guy to death and delivering one liners to begin or wrap up a scene, what do we know about him? He was smirking, staring, and I don't mean the De Niro taxi driver stare where the entire mental state of the character is reflected in the way he looks at people, his anger boiling up, his disdain for a particular community. He doesn't have to articulate it, his eyes also know how to method act. Like, I think Akshay has the most screen time of all the characters as he is the central antagonist of this film. We follow an entire arc of this guy losing his son, his gang getting infiltrated, his meddling in politics, his shift in ideology, and his eventual demise. And all we explode about this character is his infamous reputation preceding himself, his smirks, his dance, his occasional political wavings, since Aditya also introduced politics in this story. Speaking of which, I think if George Orwell were alive and faced writer's block, his first call would go to Aditya Dhar. Not a single scene where we get to see how this character behaves, interacts, thinks, makes decisions, not even one good scene with his own brother or Hamza or even his whole gang where we finally see if he's more than just his reputation. And now you'll say it's not a character driven film and he's not the sole antagonist that the story revolves around. There are multiple things at play. Like what? It's not a race against time thriller that needs to be wrapped up in 2 hours. It had enough time since it has more than enough characters. Everyone got ample amount of time, but most of it was wasted because Aditya just couldn't make a good use of the characters he sketched. He took sketching the characters too literally and did his best to design their cool looks as best as he could. He thought that was the end of his job. He wrote the scenes, but he couldn't make the best use of these characters and made a caricature out of those mafia gangster movies that every cinephile gushes on. My favorite genre is a drama, and I love those crime dramas more than anything. My favorite TV show is The Sopranos, which I have seen like 3 times. So, seeing the cartoonish treatment of my favorite genre, even if the film was not strictly in that genre, really pissed me off. Rahman's brother had more lines than both Hamza and Rahman. There was not a single scene where we explored their relationship, how they work in tandem in the gang, and how the entry of Hamza brought a change in the dynamic for better or for worse. Being a simp for crime dramas, it gave me second-hand embarrassment to see Hamza acting like a deal maker, making an offer no one could refuse, working in cahoots with the cop and the politician to bring Rahman Dakait down, and especially his last smackdown with Rahman Dakait, the stare exchanges from the rear view mirror to evoke tension. Wow, even Travis Bickle would have written about Hamza and Rahman in his personal diary. Mom, Dad, guess who outsteered me today? The director thought that just close ups of those menacing looks of those characters he designed was more than enough to build tension, hold the audience's breath. And since he got complacent, he thought it's high time to flex his technical skills, and thus he gave a free hand to other aspects and ran with the violence, the buckets of blood, the background score, close ups, and how can I forget smoking? I imagine his job on set was really tiring since he had to carry buckets of blood one after another and splash on all his characters. It might come across as if I hate violence in movies. I do not. I actually love those bloody movies, but only when the bloodshed is the cherry on top and not the entire dish. I love the ending of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Hateful Eight, Old Boy Corridor fight scene, Raid Redemption, which is my favorite action movie, The Man from Nowhere, I Saw the Devil. These are violent movies, but what makes them great are not those blood oozing out incessantly. It's the story, the characters that are causing all this bloodshed, the motivation behind all this bloodshed. Violence should not take over the story. Here, the problem is not the violence, but the lack of anything but violence. It has nothing else to offer, no creation of thriller, suspense, or urgency, or anything with the help of writing. No crafting of good scenes and only relying on gore to shock the audience. No dialogues except one liners for whistles in theaters. Nothing wrong with stylistic violence, I love them, but they are not the soul of the story. Take any Tarantino character or any good action movie, they are memorable not because of those violent scenes, it's because of the chain of events that led to those action scenes and the violence being used to add a new layer to the scene, basically using it as a topping on the dish. Like, say, if tomorrow a production company gets John Woo, Tarantino, Brian De Palma, and other directors who specialize in violent movies and gives them full creative freedom to make the goriest scenes they can, and then you piece together all these different violent scenes from 3 different directors and play it in a theater. No one is watching that because it's not a story, just a collection of unrelated action scenes. You don't know why they are chopping the heads or blowing up heads or helicopters exploding. Those were just additions that follow the well written lead up and blend with good writing. We remember them and don't feel as excited about how they shot those guys, even if you do look back at them fondly in retrospect. It's because the characters make those scenes memorable. So Hamza is played by the great Ranveer Singh. It felt like he shot it simultaneously with Padmavat. All he had to do was change costumes and that's it. He got into his character. Big muscles, rugged looks, makeup, and close up of him smoking. And there we have our very own Daniel Day Lewis.